It's the most extraordinary thing, it really is. None of this would have happened if I hadn't made a silly mistake. But life is like that all the time, isn't it? A chap I know married the girl who fell into his lap. Yes, literally, when, as was his habit, he stuck out his long legs and big feet in a crowded train compartment and dozed off. Such stories haven't always happy endings. Some years later I had to trade places with him at a fancy dinner party when they'd seated him next to her, and she was, by then, his former wife. A happy ending to this particular tale I'm about to tell you? Let us not, as the shilling shockers say, anticipate. George and Harris and I were coming out of the Oak and Barrel, not the real name of the place, and don't ask me for it, for I shan't tell you, not long before closing time one Friday night, which made it Saturday morning if you're a stickler for such things. 3 or 4 pints apiece left George and me uncommonly contented with the world. Rather more than 3 or 4 pints left Harris wanting to sing a comic song. Take no alarm, dear reader, we did not let him. But it was the nearest run thing you ever saw in your life, as Wellington was so much less at risk, said of Waterloo. Thinking of our narrow escape called to mind other times when we were not so lucky. I also recollected another man's comic song I once heard, and that was what led me to my mistake. For after we'd managed to quieten Harris, looking up I saw walking along the pavement, not 10 yards ahead of us, a man who was, at least from behind, the very spit and image of Herr Slossenn-Boschen. The fellow was tall and lean, as was the German musician. He dressed in an old-fashioned, almost excessively formal style, as did Herr Slossenn-Boschen, and the gas lamps clearly showed an upstanding poof of white hair like that affected by the man of my acquaintance. When I sped up and left my companions behind, George called after me, "Here, Jay, what in tarnation do you think you're about?" "Making up to an old friend," I answered over my shoulder. Friend doubtless stretched the point, but heaven knows I did want to make up to Herr Slossenn-Boschen, along with a roomful of other people I've owed an apology to lo these many years, and I owe it to him yet.